stream is up.
It's up. Oh my.
It is. We got, well, I mean, it's Monday, 26th July.
July.
Summer's first month is over, technically, if we're going by the movement of the sun, but we're midsummer for most places. Summer Olympics have started, and the ratings are down.
That's true. It's true. Over in Tokyo, I hear it's given some of the athletes a bit of a hard time with how hot and humid it is.
It's like, that's why the Summer Olympics will never come to Florida. They'd never survive.
God, can you imagine?
Some of us
my jog today, I was like,
right? I run in it every day.
Yeah. My jog today was, you just don't cool off at all. You sweat and just nothing happens.
No, I get it. I completely understand.
But hey,
the way it goes.
It's the way it is.
All right, Bruce Hornsby, settle down.
How about those new tunes? Are you playing the new tunes?
No, I'm not. I got a new one that I got. We'll have to review it. A new Harris Heller song that I'll probably use for the opener because we like to change, like to highlight his music. But anyhow, we know what we got. I'm gonna say 30 seconds. Why not?
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
30 seconds.
I'm going to call 20 because I forgot when I called 30. It felt like 10 seconds.
It's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
There you go.
It's all good.
Now let's just go with 10 seconds. Why not? Arbitrary 10 seconds out there.
It's good.
There you go. 5, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Welcome, Not Your Average Show. Corey, Mike, how's everybody doing today?
Hey.
How are you today, Corey?
Good, man. What's going on?
Not much. As we alluded, it is July 26, 2021. It is Monday. We're on the night schedule, obviously, thanks still to the implications from another COVID outbreak. But hey, that's the way it goes. What else we got going on today? What's up with you?
Fine. Yeah, I get my roof replaced this week, so hopefully that goes well. That's the big news, I guess. So from this side of the camera.
There you go.
Yeah, man. How about you? What's going on?
Not much. We're at 285 subscribers. We keep growing about 2 or 3 per day, which is thankful for that. Thanks everybody out there. The other part that's really interesting though is that we've dabbled between 285 back to 282 to 283 to 285 for the last 4 days. So I'm assuming there's bots in there that like YouTube has picked up and kicked off.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah,
something like that. So it's just really weird because we watch how everything goes and the viewership goes up, and we can normally calculate how many people we're gonna get from that, and then it goes up, and then this time it's been like up down for like 3 days.
Yeah.
So thanks to the new people that have subscribed, and thanks to the constant viewers that have been watching our content. Thanks again for everybody. We're growing and we appreciate it. So wanted to just say that. And we have a backlog catalog of stuff that's got to be released, but unfortunately, I don't have time to get all the content put together. So doing the intro screens and all that other stuff. So as soon as we get that done, there'll be more fresh content. Then unfortunately in August we have some vacation time coming up. So we'll see how that's going to work out.
Yeah, we'll see what we can release there.
What we got going on. Anyhow, well, I guess we'll just kick it off. How's that?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay, so here's the deal. If you guys have been following the channel the last week, we've been paying attention to this company called Lucid. And guess what? They IPO'd. They turned around. They threw themselves out there in the open market. They got their Churchill Capital Corporation investment money, and they opened up this morning, and they closed at a respectable 6.30% gain. Yeah. Basically easy trading day for them. Nothing as a surprise. People seem to be hot for the EV marketplace, which is great. This seems to be probably outside of Fisker, which we're going to talk about today, one of the few competitors to Tesla in the upper echelons of their sales bracket. Their Lucid Motors cars start roughly at about $79,000 and go all the way up to about $131,000, and they are priced accordingly. They're part of their luxury branding. You know, we looked at them over the last week, and they look fantastic. So the thing is, it was nice to see them actually IPO, and the fact that they still haven't sold. Okay, sold, like physically pushed a vehicle outside of a factory and put it into a customer's hands. Pretty good day for them, I would say overall. What's your feelings on that one?
I'd say, man, yeah. I mean, if you guys have been following the Lucid stuff as well, you might remember last week this was actually supposed to happen, and they had a little bit of I don't know, mix up with their emails. Actually, that literally was what it said. I guess some of the people involved got the email in their spam folder and missed that. I don't know what. Anyway, but point being, yeah, it's a done deal. Of course, they're on the market now, and yeah, as you said, they're doing good. It is interesting, as you said, because this isn't an SPAC. If you guys are unfamiliar, Churchill Capital was an SPAC, and so Lucid went IPO with the help of the SPAC. It's a little bit easier on them instead of going pure traditional IPOs. But again, from what we can tell, it appears that they're not supposed to start making some cars until the beginning of 2023.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a bit interesting. I guess this would be something to see how their technology progresses in this year and then the next. As far because we're talking about do you want to kind of invest now? They're public. You could purchase into them, but again, it needs to be seen. There's, I mean, that amount of time.
A lot could happen
In this kind of marketplace now, with so many EVs changing things, and then the air taxi stuff also comes in and will affect the EVs on the road. It's just going to be crazy.
Right.
So while the Lucid does, it is pleasing on the eye, and they have some interesting things going on concept wise. It's gonna be a little while, so we'll see. Yeah.
We'll see what happens there. Now, interesting to note here, some of the other things is they traded 31 million shares, roughly 31,573,182, and they came away with a market cap of $6.94 billion. Which again, I think that's where we roughly thought they were going to be relative towards what the article said is that's roughly where they would settle in their evaluation. The other part of it is they don't have a profit and earning ratio yet. They do not have anything that they've actually sold. There's no dividends yet, so none of that could be reported. And that talks to exactly what Corey said, that this is, hey, it could be a bumpy ride for these guys coming up over the next 2 years, because now we have to see what they actually can put out there as far as profits and earning. Right. So that's going to be different for them. And we don't usually talk about that here on the channel in this particular terminology. And we're going to tell you why, because we haven't had really a company that we followed or looked at that has gone IPO at this particular time. Others have gone SPAC in the EV world that we've talked about. And I think it was Jobby and a couple others that went that route. And but we haven't had a real company that's actually just pushed it out there that we know has a competitive product that should be out. It has a street date. Let's put it that way. So interesting.
Yeah.
Going to be interesting to see how all these market players are going to fall in place, because obviously there's already going to be players that are already aligning themselves. Mercedes has their luxury EV out in the marketplace. There's a few more that are ready to land from other manufacturers. They're all itching to get this done. So going to be interesting to see what the market looks like in the next couple of years. So let us know in the comments below what you guys think about Lucid. What do you think their chances are of being a successful impact player here in EV markets, and if they're going to be a successful challenger to Tesla, and if they've got the gusto to go the distance, because we got another one quick to talk about after that. But before we go into that, I think which one are we going to talk about now? Because I don't think we really discussed. We're going to stay here with Fisker, or
I think we might as well. We could talk about another EV car, a car EV. Yeah, we could go straight to Fisker.
Okay, so. You know what? Were you supposed to do Lucid and I was supposed to do Fisker?
I think I don't know actually, but I'll kick off Fisker. Obviously, you can.
All right, here you go.
Whenever you
well,
want.
You know what? You got Fisker then. It's on your plate now, Mister. It's all you.
So as we say, please like, share, subscribe. It helps us out a ton. We very much appreciate it, and with all the growth we've had lately, thanks so much. So
yeah, appreciate it.
But yeah, going to the next one here. This one is talking about Fisker. And if you're not familiar with Fisker, they have been around a little while, the name Fisker, but they're kind of trying to make a comeback now in EVs and with some new things going on with EVs. So this one comes to us from Auto Week. It's Fisker Ocean. Will debut at the LA Auto Show. Fisker Ocean is their EV SUV that they're looking to bring to the LA Auto Show. So basically, this one initially it strikes me. I have to say it kind of like the Land Rover. It just tells me that.
Right.
And not that it's not pleasing, but it just is initially what I think there too. But it is quite
Right.
interesting to see. If you guys are not familiar with the Ocean, it's supposed to be a 300-ish mile range car or SUV, starting about that range, supposedly about $37,500, to be built by Austria's as a company in Austria that's going to be building them for Fisker.
Mm-hmm.
They're supposedly saying they're going to be entering production for these in the fourth quarter of 2022. Something that they've been saying a few times, and they haven't changed. They haven't had to change it at all. So they've already got some reservations going on for that. They say they basically got 17,300
Yes.
paid reservations for that, and apparently 62,000. They call them hand raisers, so people, I guess, that maybe said that they are interested in it, but maybe didn't pay for the full reservation yet.
Right.
So they do have again, they have a little bit of that name already. Fisker is some, if you're into cars, you'd recognize the name. And so they usually make a bit higher luxury kind of product anyway. So it is interesting to see what they're going to be able to come out with.
Mm-hmm.
But the quality is right, and I expect it's going to be quite good actually.
Right.
That's the way I'm thinking about it. And they've had some different kind of success with their brands before in the past, but I kind of think they might have it they might have it kind of going on this time, all sorted out. And yeah,
well,
I mean, what do you think, man? I think it's,
you said they've had some success before, because they did have, actually they beat Tesla out of the marketplace in the 4-door version of an electric car, and they used the Karma, and they actually produced 2,500 versions of it. They actually had 2,500 road going models. And the problem was that they just never, their battery supplier actually went bankrupt. And when that happened, the company went kaput. And basically, a Chinese company came in and they bought the actual Fisker brand, actually the Karma Automotive. So Fisker actually still maintains their name and title. And then they turned around and they folded. But from what I do remember, the only issue that people really had with the Fisker when it originally came out was the fact that it was a hybrid, and the exhaust where the hybrid motor was just happened to be right by the passenger and the driver's doors, and the hot air would actually run up the side of the car and actually enter the car when you had the windows open. But by and large, most people said that they were actually fantastic to drive. They were fairly luxurious, and they did hit the market in the right place. And this is where he learned, Henrik Fisker himself learned a lot of the things about what he wanted to bring to the marketplace this time around, which was a mid-level priced SUV. Which I have to say, you're right. It does look a lot like an electric Range Rover, so there's not a lot to be said there. But his pricing structure, I think he's roughly $37,000 as entry level. It's pretty much nail on the head where you need to be if you want to be successful in the marketplace and bringing something back to market. And I think he's learned his lessons. Where I think the challenges are going to be is convincing people that Fisker can go the distance after showing this car, I think it was in 2018, now showing it again in 2021, and now saying we're not going to produce till 2022, 2023. I wonder what the appetite for the public's going to be to kind of go through that, long onset, early adapter delay dilemma. What's your feelings on that one? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of dovetails with what we just talked about with the last and many other things we talk about with the EVs and the pace of technology with progression and like battery life and range, and then actually some expectations of the public of what those two things should be as well. Expected range. Having them kind of say they're going to be producing by fourth quarter 2022, you're right to say they're probably going to be delivering fall and then possibly right at the beginning of 23. I mean, what's the feeling gonna be for an SUV with 300 miles of range?
That's a big one.
At the beginning of 2023 by then. I feel like whoever it might be, whether it is Tesla or somebody else, I feel like battery tech is gonna be a bit better by then, and battery density and maybe totally different technologies in terms of solid state and things. Right. And I just think I don't know. That's it. When we talk to people and when we kind of do some research on one of the things about when people would want to adopt to EVs, range anxiety. If you've heard of that, it's always in that conversation
always
somewhere.
One. Yeah.
And I don't know. Like I said, I mean, 300 miles of range, as I know and as you know too, right? If it says 300 miles of range, well, we're talking like best case scenario,
right?
Almost always.
Sure.
And that's stop and go 45, 50 miles an hour in the towns. If you're going on the highways, you're not going to get 300 miles of range. So Again, I'm just speculating here, and we're years out actually. So
here's and you're right. I think the battery technology can change, but if they've designed it well enough, right? And here's the thing: one of the things that they've also touted about this car is the fact that it does have a solar panel built into the roof, that it charges itself at some level a little bit better than anything else that's in the marketplace. Okay, and if they've designed it well enough, right, the car looks fairly decent. And the reason why I'm not showing you a ton of pictures is because when you go to find a ton of pictures, they're all from slightly different angles, and they really don't. There's not like a complete picturesque, like, kind of let's thumb through this right now thing, right? Because it hasn't debuted yet. So it's really just been in the focal point of we're getting the first look at it, right? If, and I do say if, air quotes, it's designed properly, maybe they've put some things in place that say that they can adapt to higher range models going forward, so they're not beating the marketplace before they get there. Now, the other thing is, look at the crowded area of places manufacturers that we know want to get into that place right now in the SUV area. Canoe is one, right? Or is it Canoe? Canoe, right?
Or however
you want to say it, right? Ford is going to be eagerly jumping in there because the Mach-E is already out, so that's there, and it seems like this is going to be a small competitor to that, right? The Model Y, the Model X, they're Model Y probably already being in that space. And now you have obviously Hyundai and Kia with the Evoque, and
the Ioniq,
and the Ioniq, not the Evoque, the Ioniq, and the what is it, the ES6, whatever it is. So it's gonna EV6 was it, or something like that, right?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
We covered it last week. We looked at it. I can't remember the name of it, so I'm sorry for that. But the difference is, it's gonna get crowded in here really, really quick at this size and footprint of vehicle.
Yeah. I mean, the LA Auto Show's in the end of November. It starts on the 19th of November.
Right.
So that'll be, and they've said they're going to be there, as the article, of course, says they're going to have a model there. I bet it's going to be pretty nice.
Right.
I'm just brainstorming here. That would be nice to go to, but that's a bit of ways, but we'll see.
Yeah, it was the EV6. I got it right. The EV6, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is still pretty good looking car. So I wonder if they're going to cut it, man. I wonder how that's going to impact, again, with all these other manufacturers out there. Let us know in the comments below what you guys think. I mean, it's an interesting ride. The EV, look, we get it. Everybody wants to go green. Everybody's hot on this. Everybody wants to be inside this marketplace. It's going to generate another few $1 billion in activity in the not too distant future over the next 5 years. And there will be failures, obviously. There was a lot of cars back in the 1940s and the 1950s, a lot of car makers that were around back then that didn't make it to today. The big three, as we know it, also went under massive restructures and have bought and sold, from actually more Chrysler on that line there. But they've all gone through their transitions to make it to today, and I'm sure the EV market will be quick to revolve around those same positions. So we'll see what happens. All right, folks, like, subscribe, follow, let us know what you think. And then we move on. So
we move on.
All right, this one is going to come from me because, well, basically, I'm going to make it. Corey found it, so I'm not going to take any claim for the fact that I found this first, because when I turned around a few weeks ago and we were talking about Jeff Bezos and his company Blue Origin sending him into space, and the week before that we were talking about Richard Branson and Virgin Galactic, them going into space, and we're trying to find a way to figure out how they were going to qualify these people to be quote unquote astronauts. And I immediately said, you know what? They're not astronauts, they're pastronauts. And meaning they're only passengers. They didn't really do anything to earn the ride into space. They just took the trip, right? Well, almost immediately after I was sending Corey that night, I was like, are we going to spell it P-A-S or P-A-S-S? How are we going to do this? Because we're coining the phrase pastronauts. And he basically sent this back to me and said, you don't have to. Because it looks like the FAA has done it for you, because on the very same day that Jeff Bezos made his historic trip into space, the FAA changed the policy on who qualifies for commercial astronaut wings, okay? And this is amazing, right? You can't make it up. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful, because, I mean, if in the essence of, if you're looking at this article, this is coming from CNN, okay, the FAA changed the policy on who qualifies for commercial astronauts, and they did it, and I don't know if it was to spite him, I don't know what the deal was, but they did this for the first time in 17 years, okay? And this is on the dawn of the precipice of what is called the space tourism industry. So basically, as saying that, I wonder if Richard Branson can even qualify because he was predating this and maybe he could apply, but it doesn't because they made one very specific change. And that change, as Corey can allude to, is the activities that they have to perform. And what was that activity that they said now has to be so important?
Yeah, so basically, just as Mike's saying, effective the 20th of July, FAA issued one critical criteria for exactly what Mike's talking about. It says, and quote, the crew members must demonstrate activities during flight that were essential to public safety or contributed to human space flight safety.
And that does not include fastening a seatbelt. So you're now astronauts.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. And so exactly as this, a lot of these, not a lot of these, not that many, but these companies we just talked about, they are space tourism companies currently. They, some people will certainly say, and I know I've heard it, that Jeff Bezos and Blue Origin have sent up, some small projects in the previous flights before he went up, okay, all right, but there's nobody on board. They're not astronauts.
They're not doing anything.
Just cargo, right? So yeah, if you're gonna be going on some of these flights here, where we know from watching these, and you're only in 0G. 4 minutes or short amount of time, and you're just kind of floating around the cabin, which I'm jealous of, right? Sure, okay,
sure.
But getting back to why we're talking about it, that unfortunately for them does not make them qualify for astronaut wings. So I did want to point out, because Mike said it literally on that show that day. You heard it first here, from right out of Mike's mouth. What are these? Oh, there's just astronauts. They're not really astronauts.
No, and
because we know at the time they were going to get their wings, because the pilots that tested Starship 2, or not Starship 2, sorry, the one from Richard Branson, Spaceship 2, those guys, those two pilots who flew that space plane in a way, or suborbital plane, up to those suborbital flights, they get their wings.
And they should, but wait a second. And there's a
they
difference.
were test pilots.
That's correct.
I agree. No, I'm not discounting them at all.
No, they earned it.
But yeah,
they earned it. So the guys, but basically, what Corey's saying is that the two guys up in front, Virgin Galactic, even though they went up on July 11th, and that was predating what the FAA rule changes was, it doesn't make a difference because they safely operated the aircraft. Which also brings up an interesting conversation that we had last week, which was, you get a better ride, I think, on Virgin Galactic because you're actually participating in a different type of space travel initially, right? But they also went on to say that the 4 crew members on board, Blue Origin's first crewed flight, did even less. And I don't know if that was like a little bit of a jab here in the article from CNN. And they said, pre-launch and everything else that they briefing that they did, they really didn't do anything except sit in a seat and go up. Okay?
Yeah.
Now ironically, this comes back to another point that I wonder who watches our channel, because it's just one of those things where we sit back and we say it to ourselves. We're like, how can that be that these people are really going to become astronauts? They're really not. They're space tourists. They're really not in that respect. And look, now it comes up for discussion about what do we open up in the new realm of astronauts? Because if people are going to suddenly be working in space, right?
Yeah.
Let's just say 10 years from now, there is a civilian space station. Okay. It's funded completely by private corporations, and they send average everyday Joes up there to do work in space. Are these people going to be considered astronauts because they've just simply locked in for a week's work up in space, and they might have performed like scientific experiments, but they might not have contributed to the actual space flight and space safety because they're simply just going up in there and clocking hours to do experiments? I wonder what the case is going to be for them.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I see exactly what you're thinking about. I mean, initially when we had talked about it that day, I was thinking, okay, so I know there's some companies that wanted to do like suborbital cargo transportation between cities for whatever it might be, but cities like across the world.
Right.
And you can obviously get places quicker if you can get up to suborbital altitudes, and then move across maybe about around the Earth, and you can actually get around quite quickly. Obviously, that way, just as you can imagine. Those people would be in service of a company? It's the same question. They're your suborbital space plane pilot, let's say in a decade or more from now or whenever. Do you get astronaut wings? I don't know.
Well, look, you could.
I don't know.
Here's the funny part: you could take Kármán line and all that they said about the Blue Origin launch, and say, Kármán line really meant nothing because recognized in space. Little did we know there was someone that was hitting a button on send in an email at the FAA that basically said, nah, null and
Yeah.
void, because Kármán line means nothing to us. Did they operate and participate in a safe and manner that was contributing? And hey, it's what the FAA does, and it's completely within their right to do, because
Of course, yeah.
technically, I mean, they don't own space. So if they want to be recognized by another space organization, that's possible, I guess. But the other part of it would be that they launched from U.S. soil and they landed back on U.S. soil. So I guess they have to abide by the rules. But at what point does airspace become not your airspace anymore?
Well, that's literally that's what they say about the Kármán line. Literally, it's that, like, sovereign airspace is below that.
Right.
But again, as we talked about on the other show, some people say it's like 50 miles. Some people it's like 63 miles. Like, it depends who you talk to. So
we can't even get
of
our
course,
crap right
the
in space.
nation below it also have something to say about it, of course.
I'm
But
sure.
I don't know, man. It's gonna be interesting to follow because
Interesting. So now
I don't know.
Here's another thing.
I don't know.
Who becomes the first space tourist, okay, to orbit the Earth?
Yeah, that's
going to be
because you and I
one.
talked about that briefly on the other show too. We were
Mhm.
like, these people that go up and then like spend a few minutes away of low gravity or 0G depending, and then just come back down. Okay, that's certainly cool.
Yeah, it
And I'm
is.
not saying anything about that. But what about, yeah, exactly as you said, if you get high enough and fast enough that you can do an orbit, are you still a tourist?
I don't
I
know.
mean, according to this definition, yeah, this has nothing to do with orbits.
Of course.
This
of
is
course.
just, what you do in orbit or what you do on the flight, not even in space, but
Right.
on the flight. So I guess no. I mean,
Interesting. Well, we might talk about it on another show coming up this week, but also one of the flight pilots from Virgin Galactic actually was abruptly looked like he was canned recently too.
Yeah,
So
that is, yeah.
we only read about it just a little bit before this, and we were like, what? It actually requires us to do a little bit more investigating on it before we say it. I know it's public knowledge, and he tweeted something out, but we're not even going to get into it yet because that's not the type of thing we want to talk about. Especially when it comes to the pilot's point of view, because there could be lots of reasons why stuff like that happens with an operator. So anyhow, hey, I thought astronauts. We're making our own T-shirts. We're making our own. It's funny if you guys have not figured out, but the actual abbreviation for this show is NYASS, not your average show. And we're thinking that if we do actually make a brand or something, that'll be the brand name. But we're gonna have to start making some shirts that say, you're only a pastronaut. You didn't really make it to space. I don't know. We're gonna come up with something clever, and that'll be some of the first merchandise that we sell to you guys, because we're probably also looking to go the Patreon route and all that other stuff. Lots more to discuss, but it's coming. We're thinking about it.
Yeah.
And if you guys,
we'll have a lot of fun with those.
yeah, lots of fun. And this is just interesting enough to discuss. And let us know what you think in the comments below. We know a lot of you watch the videos, and we know a lot of you don't like them. And we do appreciate the fact that you watch, but that extra like gets us a lot more recognition. And one little comment below even puts it above the edge one more. And if you want to see this show grow, help us out a little bit, because we appreciate it so much, you guys. So thank you for that. All right. And I guess there's more bad news for Bezos and company.
It just happens to be this way.
We didn't pick it. It's okay. Look, everybody's gonna think we're ganging up on Blue Origin or something, and we're not. It's just that this came out, and Corey's like, "Hey, check this out," and I was like, "No," but
yeah.
All right,
we were going to talk about the FAA thing anyway, and then as Mike said, I found this just a little bit ago, and I was like, we got to talk about that.
Yeah. So actually, wait. If you guys have any hate for somebody that doesn't like Blue Origin, the guy that keeps finding most of the negative stuff in Blue Origin is Corey.
I don't hate Blue Origin.
I know you don't. I'm just saying, you're the guy that keeps bringing it up. I'm just putting it out there. Direct all the hate mail to him.
Wow.
Yeah, okay, I'm kidding. All right, here, take it away. You got the floor.
All right, cool. Yep. So this one I happened to find on CNBC, and it says, I'll just read it and then we'll go into it. It says Bezos offers to cover $2 billion in NASA costs in exchange for astronaut lunar lander contract. So, okay, breaking this down. So basically, if you guys have been following the news or watching our show, you'll know that there was a competition a bit ago, and where SpaceX was selected for the lunar lander project. and Blue Origin was also in there with another company as well, and they lost out to SpaceX.
Mm-hmm.
NASA awarded NASA awarded that to SpaceX, and Blue Origin obviously wasn't happy about that, and they ended up putting a protest into it, and but the long and short of it on this article actually says that literally Jeff is just saying they'll just pay the bill up to a limit, but pay the bill up to $2 billion for NASA's cost to get the contract.
Right. He
To
said
build a
he'll
lunar
waive
lander.
the payments, waive all the payments up to
Wait,
$2
yeah,
billion.
wait, yeah, he's gonna eat the payments.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Effectively eating the payments.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah.
No, keep going. I'm not gonna stop there because there's more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, so basically, yeah, back in April, I can expand a little bit on it, but back in April, yeah, NASA awarded Elon Musk, of course, to SpaceX. That was 2.89 billion
Mm-hmm.
for the crew of the lunar lander, and they're calling it the Human Landing System. So if you're not familiar, that's kind of what they're talking about.
Right.
And basically, what Bezos is saying. So this is a quote from him as well. It says, instead of a single source approach, NASA should embrace its original strategy of competition.
Right.
Without competition, a short time into the contract, NASA will find itself with limited options as it attempts to negotiate missed deadlines, design changes, and cost overruns.
Okay.
So, and that's an end quote.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna have my little 2 cents here.
Yep.
Because that's a lot. That's a lot coming from a guy that had to step in. Look, this was a contract that was given to SpaceX after, and this is what they say in the article. So we're going off of what they said. They're saying that it was a 10-month study. Okay. And they looked at both programs, and then this is how work is usually done. Okay. You go in, you evaluate what your company can do. They looked at SpaceX, they looked at Blue Origin, and they said SpaceX is the winner. All right. They happened to have announced it literally, I think it was 2 days after Starship had its first successful landing. If I think I'm correct on this, right?
I don't actually know about that.
I think it was within the range of 2 days, right? Because it was awarded in April, and I think they might have had their first like semi-successful one. I think where it touched down and then it blew up like a little bit later, but it did land, right? But whatever the case may be, situation is that, hey, is this some sort of, I mean, can you even do that? Can you even say, I lost the contract and here I'll just slide you 10 billion back across the table that you don't owe me if you just pick me instead? Because to me, that's a little bit of a position where if they did go back and reevaluate this and somehow SpaceX did lose this contract, could they go back in and look at that study and say, look, on paper, if you just went with a cheaper evaluation cheaper valuation on his services, because he's giving you $2 billion back, but the study proves that my technology is better, safer, and we're not going to deliver with cost overruns because we've already successfully done such and such as milestones. Is that even? I mean, can you do that, or Blue Origin just throwing their weight around here?
What you just said is exactly my thoughts as well. I mean, it's if NASA selected SpaceX on the fact that they think they can do it with cost, and then deliver what they want to deliver, it's a bit strange for Jeff to say, look, and I'll just read this other quote because it kind of says it too. It says, quote, "This offer is not a deferral, right? But it is an outright and permanent waiver of those payments. This offer provides time for government apparition costs actions to catch up." So basically, he's trying to say, I know you may get caught up in some other things, getting the costs moved from wherever to get to NASA and then get to SpaceX or whoever they end up going with. Hey, don't worry about it. I'll eat that, and just let us work on it. And we'll just hit the ground running, right? And we can get up with Project Gateway and Artemis and all that. It'll just be good to go.
It sounds. Look, I don't mean to knock a multi-billion-dollar corporation and the people that work for it, because Blue Origin obviously has some successes, and it's hard to talk about these things when you don't know people on the inside, right? And you don't want to disparage anyone or make them feel worse than they didn't really do a good enough job, because the only thing that came up in this for me is that they just didn't hit the same mark that SpaceX hit. Right. And that's okay. It happens. Right. It's one of those things that takes place in the universe. OK. But this almost acts and feels like a little bit of desperation on the half of Jeff and company, because he said he's walking away from Amazon. He wants to focus more on Blue Origin. He wants to bring more value. And it's like, almost a sour grapes move. And I don't even want to label it that way, but if you were better, you would have been chosen. And if you were further ahead in your development, you might have made the mark. And that's just kind of the way I feel. I hope Blue Origin survives. I hope that they can make their footprint. I think, what did you say? They had $100 million in space tourism now, and people have invested to go into space, but that doesn't
Yes.
pay the
Yep.
bills for what they've already invested in the company. I can almost
Mm,
assure you that doesn't pay enough of the bills.
mm. I will say kind of maybe the last thing about it was it is unfortunate because if you go back and you try to look at it too, it does sound like NASA in terms of the human landing system program. They had said they wanted more suppliers, they wanted competition, and that was actually extremely important to them. That was a quote too
Hmm.
from the director of the Advanced Space Exploration Systems at NASA, and then they said basically that. Limited budgets force them to only select one. So they had intended to pick more than one, and due to cost, they weren't able. That's what they say anyway. So maybe that's possibly where Jeff is trying to come from to say, hey, I know you guys had to pick one because of cost. Hey, here's a check.
Well,
Pick two or
take two and
one.
call
Pick me.
take
You
two and
know,
call me in the morning, right?
pick me. I mean, too, pick us both. So I don't know, but I mean, I can see both sides, right? And as Mike and I have said before, we also like competition in the space
Hmm.
because it helps everybody get the best of all the testing everybody's doing. They're using different ideas, different
Sure.
different systems, and it's good. It's good to see different stuff going on, and it's good for the Space Coast over by NASA. It's good to see that all that activity over there on a regular basis too. So
It
yeah,
is.
we'll have to
It's important.
see. Well, this is from today, is it not? Did I not? I found this today, but was
Let me
it?
see. I'm gonna see where it
Was it?
actually came from
Yeah,
because I
it's from today at 10:15. So we'll
yep,
have to. I'll probably check it tomorrow and see what
see
the
what
what,
happens.
what the latest is.
Right. I mean,
So
here's the other take on in this the article. So we basically just cut it out for you. It's in the links below, so you guys can go find it and read it yourselves. But the interesting thing there, you were just touching on something there that popped off in my head, and now I can't remember what it was.
yeah. Okay.
About the Space Coast and develop. Oh, look, if they do pick another to ride on top of the rocket, it shouldn't be too terribly difficult for them to use the same interface system to ride on top to take the
Mhm.
trip to the moon if they all hit the same constraints, right? I wonder if there's a cost factor in there that if they could have two different types of landers, one could possibly have a mission that
Yeah.
to just basically deliver people, and the other one could be basically delivering equipment. Who knows? It's not unheard of that you have multiple contributors on a design that takes something into
Of course.
space. So that's how this type of business works. So
Mhm.
if they could work that out for them, I think that'd be great for Blue Origin too. I agree. However, it sounds like to me, and this is just what it sounds like, that might have been something to leave the door open towards a bargaining, right, in price, just like you said. So who knows? Let's see.
Yep.
Let's see what the
Yep.
future holds because because the other part of it is SpaceX could have already started hiring to ramp up their production of whatever they needed in order to get their footprint and timelines down and hit their milestones for the next level of the project. And
Right.
they could have already invested some of the money that was given to them. So I don't think that you would see a situation where that money would be suddenly retracted, possibly because they could be too far along in development, right? Especially with what's going at stake at going back to the moon. So we'll see.
I forgot to even mention
Uh oh.
the Europa Clipper mission.
Uh oh.
Do you remember who? Do you want to just mention that real quick or no?
You know what? I read it and then what is it? Was it SLS got it, right?
Falcon Heavy.
Falcon. Oh, no, we have to save that. That's right.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah,
Nope.
Falcon.
Zip.
I forgot because the first thing yeah, Europa got another mission on the Falcon Heavy, and the first thing I said to Corey was everybody wrote off the Falcon Heavy so quickly because they thought with Starship there'd be no market for it, and look, it snapped like two whole new contracts, and the thing is going to do
What?
really,
6
really
months or
well, and it just goes to
so?
prove that they didn't waste their time and energy. But that's for a whole nother episode. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, we got it.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
bookmark it, but that's fine.
Darn it. Now I gotta bring it up here. Hold on a second. You gotta send me the link. Did you put it in
Okay.
there?
No, no, I got it
Oh,
here.
wait. So
It's at
Falcon.
the top of the document.
All
Right.
right.
Meow. Right. Meow.
Okay, lands.
You got it?
No, let's see. Let me see if I can pull it up. Was it the one from Reuters or which one?
Well, this is I don't know if this is the one I sent
Here we go.
you.
No, I got it. There we go. All right. So what Corey's basically talking about here is it's another one of those situations where I didn't know if we were really talking about it, but he brought it up, so now we have to. And I'm not mad about that. It's just one of those things that Falcon Heavy did get selected by NASA to launch the Europa Clipper missions, and that was previously tied to the SLS, and that's why I mentioned SLS off the top of my head. And look, it's a big thing for them because already introduced the subject as saying the Falcon Heavy also landed another contract earlier. Which one was the other one that they got? They got the one that the SLS was supposed to have. So
this is one of those for sure.
Right.
I don't remember what the last one was. Yeah. What's that?
Look it up. Now, I mean, because look, this is turning out to be a SpaceX rah party, and basically, they're doing it right. You can't really say too much badly about them. They're just performing well in the marketplace that they're supposed to, which just happens to be space, and they're nailing it. I mean, they're doing really well. So wait, let me see. Falcon Heavy. Let's see, lands contract. See if we got that one. That was 3 days ago. Yeah, it was June 21st. So June 21st was the Falcon Heavy lands the 130 million military launch contract. That was the other one. There's that one, right? So that was, I knew that they landed something else, and the Air Force had picked them to fly a secret military satellite atop their rocket, right? So I knew that they were garnering some sort of, some motion there. But hey, that's a beautiful rocket. To see it launch is fantastic. To see the boosters land back here, if that's where they're both going to land, that's going to be amazing. So I don't know. SpaceX is doing really well. How can you really say that they're not worthy of, getting the contracts that they are or going to the moon when they're proving that they've gotten from small scale to large scale to heavy scale, and they've proven success. I mean, it's really tough. It's not cheap for SpaceX to have launched, a Falcon Heavy with no customers on it for the first time and have to successfully do it, and then say what's the payoff in the end, because that's a lot of money.
Launched a car with Starman on board. I mean, the PR was
phenomenal,
through the roof.
Right? Yes, that is true. So much more to talk about with the space development, though. So
yeah,
threw me off guard there. I had to.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
It just popped in my head, and I was like, oh man, yeah. There's more to that.
But it makes it really. I feel bad for Blue Origin. I really do. I feel like
I mean, yeah, we got people we used to work with that we know that work at Blue Origin again, and we got people we know at the FAA. Maybe they're tongue in cheek. I'll say they're watching our show and they're changing their policies for astronaut wings.
Yeah, we know
off what we're like. Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
We know people at SpaceX. We know people at the FAA. We know people at Blue Origin. So it's really tough. And in this community, it's pretty tight. A lot of people that we used to work with at other places all migrated into those positions. So hey, there's that. All right.
Yep.
Have we covered it all now?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, the long and short, we as we said, we love all the space stuff. We're just trying to call it as we find it, really. Not even see it. Call it as we find it, and it just is what it is.
And it's such a hot marketplace right now. There really is no end to this competition between Blue Origin and SpaceX. And let me just close out with this. This community here, when this shuttle program shut down, this community here was hit very, very hard. We didn't launch a single thing into space outside of SpaceX rockets with satellites, and that was like the first rebirth of the Space Coast as we see it now developing to be something better than what it was before. The fact that we finally launched 2 human-manned missions from this location again and not on Soviet equipment and did it with American equipment from here was immense. Okay, you can't say enough for the SpaceX team, for what they did, how they accomplished it. It's phenomenal work on their behalf. So that has to be stated, that this is just basically the rebirth of the Space Coast community. But now with how much the growth has continued, it's incredible, and you wouldn't want to see it diminish in any way, shape, or form. So that means hurting Blue Origin actually hurts the community. But in essence, What if Blue Origin got bought by SpaceX? That would be another thing that could happen,
That would be that would be
That would
crazy.
be
But
nuts.
I mean, just as Mike's saying, I mean, over the Space Coast, we got Falcon Heavies, we got Starships eventually,
Mhm.
we've got the SLSs there
It's
over
there. It's
there.
there now.
We've got what it's New Shepard, right?
Right.
Is the or New Glenn? I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it's New Glenn, right? He's calling it New Glenn. Yeah, the New Glenn rocket is big as well. So there's some cool stuff going on.
Did I tell you
And it's all
I didn't
exciting.
mention the other day that I was rolling up, just getting off the exit over there by NASA off of 95, and there was a wide load carrier coming through with a huge, huge track system. And
Mhm.
I was like, that is way too big for any known excavator, not anything else that I know of on the planet. And I was like, oh man,
Mhm.
it's probably a belt for the rocket movers. So for the
Mhm.
launch platforms that actually move the conveyor system that actually,
Yep.
the tracted system, I was like, it's like, wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah,
So
working over there, it's you get stuck in some traffic jams where there's like a motorcade, the
yeah,
police, and it's they're moving like satellites or rocket
yeah,
boosters, and like I'm not sad I'm in
yeah,
traffic right
I
now.
know.
That's super cool.
Yeah,
There goes a rocket, like right there.
I,
All right.
yeah, I flew a
So
helicopter right at night when they did they moved the last Orion test capsule. I flew a helicopter right over the Orion test capsule. I was driving down the road in the dark and night. I was like, oh my God, they're moving part of Orion. That's incredible. All right,
very
so we'll
cool.
close
Yeah,
that
it's
out.
very cool.
Thanks everybody. Like, subscribe. We got a couple of comments here that we got to get to. One of them just came into
Yep.
chat. If you want to talk about it there,
Sure. Sure.
so it came from
Yep.
David right there.
Yep. So thanks for the support. Yeah, and we'll pull this one from David in chat. He says, "Do you think Lucid is a real competitor to Tesla?" What are you thinking, Mike? I'll let you
Yes,
try at
actually,
it
I do. I
first.
do, and I'm going to tell you why. Because they're hitting them where they are, and they're making them a direct competitor to the way that Tesla started their business model of introducing an EV, which is starting from the top down, right? Tesla started famously with the Roadster, right? And then they worked their way down. Performance wise, what I'm seeing from them, performance wise, range wise, and their design, which I think is actually nicer than the Mercedes. Tesla proved one thing, that you could enter a marketplace and you definitely could land if you had the looks, the technology, and all the package put together in a way that functions. And Lucid, to me right now, on paper, looks like they could do that. And what's your thoughts?
I think the same. It'll lead to be seen things that I won't say weren't problems when Tesla was starting because they were, but where I was going with that was like supply chain and things like how the market's going to accept it. We know EVs are hot right now. Tesla kind of flipped the mold, right? Back when the first what was the Roadster was an old Lotus frame, and then they put a bunch of Tesla stuff in it. It was kind of flipping the mold. This electric car could be really fast. Oh, and it looks cool too, right? Because
Hmm.
there was electric cars before, so there was a bit of a change in the market there. But and that'll be maybe one of the things that I say too is the supply chain. Like
Mm,
there's going to be so much demand for just raw materials, and I know you and I have talked about that before as well. And we are gonna get into some of that where all this stuff's going to come from. But
right.
with a lot of players. I mean, we talking about obviously Mercedes, VW, obviously Ford's in there. Everybody's in there. That's right. So they're all looking at that stuff. So and with being, I mean, the superconductor, the chip shortage. There's so many other things going on. It's not going to be easy for startups and anything. But anyway, but
Nope.
that's kind of my 2 cents.
Uh,
Could certainly be, but there's some details that we have to just take a look at. I think.
Absolutely. All right. So here's another comment by David, and David Marquette chimed in. He said, "I think there's definitely a market for variety, and for sure, I agree." Uh, and I just totally botched your last name, David. I'm sorry. So anyhow, uh, the part of it is the variety, right? But then David, another David, for some reason it's David Knight here on the channel, came
It
back and
is. Hello, David.
he said, "Do you think the company, Planet Tire, is? I've never heard of them, but I just can be as big as Enron in the 2000s. First off, nobody should be as big as Enron was because Enron ruined people's lives the way that they went through that. And I know another company that I used to work for, which was Tyco, which was owned by Dennis Kozlowski, did the same thing as they ran up their investment value on the fact that they just basically operated as a large hedge fund, acquired, and then stole profits from one company to move it down to the other. So that's one thing. Enron was a disastrous company, but it did have its props when it started out potentially, right? I would have to do a lot more digging before I could actually say, but from what I just saw, just by doing a quick glance, wow, these guys have some power.
Yeah.
I did not
Yep.
know that they had this much going on, and I really have to dig my teeth into what I'm actually looking at because
Yeah.
they got the goods.
They got customers all over the place. I'll admit as well, I knew of the name, but I did not know the depth, as I'm also just kind of skimming here. So at least for me, I'll have to do some more research to answer your question, honestly. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
It's
because right now, from what I'm
there's a lot going
seeing,
on.
is they've got anti-money laundering, auto racing, cyber defense, health and life sciences, intelligence,
Yeah.
legal intelligence, mergers and acquisitions, which every major corporation has at this point, and then sales and revenue, and then supply chain. Right now, if
Yeah.
what I'm looking at from where they're actually invested and where they're actually branching out. Look, the coalescence of technology in different groups and how it spreads out, right? If you have one core fundamental group and you're able to use many fingers and get yourself into those little places, um, that is a tremendous advantage today in the marketplace. It can't be understated that once you've mastered one particular corner of the marketplace, you can easily and fluidly move your resources to the other. And if these guys have all that, obviously they can be as big. The question is, do you want somebody as big as Enron? That would be my biggest question, but I got to do a lot more research. They're a huge bagger of Lilium. Ooh,
Interesting.
okay.
Very interesting.
You mentioned Blade can be the Uber of the eVTOL market, and the problem is I've got to see. Look, for me, Blade had a very specific function, and especially the way that they started, which was in New York City, and they wanted to do, local transport because they wanted an Uber for hire service in the helicopter industry. They actually partnered with another group, which was Bristow at the time. They were going to do executive transports back out into the Hamptons and back to New York City. That was a failed venture. They didn't move very, very well. There's been a lot of failed attempts to try to present some sort of structured or flyable service in the New York area via VTOL takeoff and landing. And like we said the other day, it's a 3-to-1 price ratio. It's 3 times more expensive to go vertical right now than it is to go off of any other normal means. And that's going to be the barrier that has to be broken before you find out that you have a successful competitor somewhere down the line to that type of service. Because we haven't seen how it functions yet, right? We haven't seen the real breakthrough on what a ticket price could become for it to become successful. That's important. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I spoke for a long time there, Corey. What's your
No. That's exactly all the same things. I mean, yeah. As we look at Blade could be the effective Uber of eVTOLs. I mean, when you talk about taking an Uber someplace, a lot of people take Ubers usually short distances. But if we're talking like VTOLs or eVTOLs, even on our channel, we've talked a lot about eVTOLs being intercity and intracity,
right.
And there's no functional eVTOL doing air taxi stuff right now. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to kind of lead to be seen what kind of range are people talking about, and what kind of weather can they fly in. And obviously the automation we won't touch that for now, but as you said as well, like ticket prices and turnaround times, and what kind of volume and cadence are we talking about per day. So it's hard to say.
You brought up turnaround times are going to be even more important, I think, than people think, because on-demand service has got there's a really big caveat that maybe a lot of people don't understand in the FAA between if you're holding out for services or if you're going for a per person service, right? If you're holding out for everyone to come to your service and anyone can jump on and purchase a ticket, right? And then you're doing common
like Uber.
Yeah, like Uber, right? And
which is like Uber,
right?
yeah,
And
exactly.
you're doing
get on your phone and boom.
Right, and you can go, and you're doing what's basically called common carriage, right? Anyone can come in. And then if you're more exclusive in what you present to the public in your front side, and you say, look, not everyone can just show up. We have an exclusive clientele. You have to have a membership or a club. It changes the dynamic of what the FAA can do under your operations. And so for a lot of people don't understand the difference between what's called the Part 121 world, which is a major air carrier, which anyone can come purchase a ticket, or Part 135, even the rules for piloting changes slightly. So that's a big thing, and that's gonna have pay scale things, and there's so much more behind that conversation that I'd love to listen to what the FAA is going to develop on that it's going to literally impact cost structures and how people can literally make money in that field. That's going to be a factor. So go ahead, Corey. I just
what rules they fall under.
It's a big one.
I mean, it's as you said, the pilot requirements, and then that goes along with turnaround times. And if we're talking about having really quick turnaround times, if we're talking like an air taxi company that would function like an Uber, where they could just get people not off the street, but effectively off the street, right, off an app, then you're talking like, okay, well, turnaround times would be quick, but then there's like rest rules for pilots, depending on what rules they're operating under. There's so many question marks for air taxis on the regulatory side.
Yeah.
Not just on the tech side, that we're quite interested because we've seen both sides. So we just have to wait and see what the FAA kind of how it plays out. So
how they really play it out there. And look, specifically the ones with Blade and planning to build their lounges and vertiports, I think it's going to be they're gonna suffer having to prove that this market exists, that they want to. And one of the things that I'll point back to is when the very light jet industry started their entrance, or they started in the 2000s, early 2000s, of making their way through the process of getting FAA certification, and all the players that were in there, the market didn't materialize as well. One major thing happened, 9/11. It was intrusive to their marketplace, and they really couldn't get settled after that because it didn't take on, the business traveling didn't come back as quickly as they thought it would, and it really impacted the marketplace. So no one really knows if that business model would have worked. That would have been a more personal flying jet experience. However, we did look at XTI's.
We did, yeah.
Vertus 600, Trifan 600, and I have some major concerns about it. There is a video back there that I do wonder about the forward limits of loading of that aircraft and how far you could actually push one of the control surfaces forward to see if this thing would actually go into an unrecoverable nosedive. Because that third fan in the back is kind of, to me, it sends up a little bit of a signal there. I don't know. There's a lot more designing that has to go into something to me to really see it work before I go, oh, okay, they overcame that.
Yeah, it's for that. It's exactly my question as well. It's like, where's the CFG? Looking at from a pilot's perspective, what's the kind of weight and balance of this thing? Because you'll have people. If you look at the three fans or the three lifting points, they could make somewhat of a triangulation right where that middle part of the fuselage would be, which we would hope that would be where most of the center of mass would be. So hopefully the aircraft would rotate around that, and that's where the wings are too. So that makes sense.
Right.
But it's still, as you said, it still needs to be seen what the balance looks like. So how stable it is, if you talk about stability.
Right.
So
because the datum point where you actually put your lift, right, is way out in front of the nose of the aircraft at that point. And you have to be really careful with how much you actually load that aircraft at that point. So your weight and balance issues could be, maybe they've got some sort of superior, balancing system where it takes that all out of play. I don't know, but that would be one of the challenges that I look at right from the bat, and I go, man, their weight and balance could be real interesting because you're hanging a lot of weight off the front of this aircraft. So I wonder where their batteries are going to be.
Yeah, I wonder. That would make sense.
What?
I was saying, if they needed to, could they run the single fan in the back in reverse if they needed to raise the nose?
They probably could. I mean, they probably could.
I mean, it makes
sense.
But we're speculating.
Completely speculating. But I mean, is that going to be a comfortable ride and a nice experience? And how well balanced that's going to have to be with the loads that are on it?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean,
it's going to be interesting because you're not talking about a DJI drone, which can easily change its direction or change its speed, and then it obviously pivots. But we'll see. Hey, with that said, hey guys, thanks again for the comments, the discussion. We really appreciate it. The tail end of the show, it makes our days a lot easier because we get to just spitball about the things that we do know and some of the things that we've previously covered. And if there's any more that you want us to take a look at, obviously now I got to go look at this new company, do a little more research. And we'll get to it. So, and if not, leave a comment in the comments below, because that actually generates a lot of views for us, and the likes actually generate a lot for us. It's super important to us as a channel, and we appreciate the fact that you guys bring information to us. We're grateful. Oh,
Apple
God.
to purchase Lilium.
You're on the cutting edge of something there that, you know what? I'm going to tell you why I think it's a good idea and it's a bad idea. Number one, Apple needs a car. If Apple wants to be really serious in the marketplace of EV technology, they need a car. They need to prove that they can.
We know they're working on their car still.
Yeah.
We know that just came back up a month ago or pretty recently.
But that's the problem. Still, the problem is that we haven't heard, seen anything. You know, Apple's got to really, because they've got this penchant, because I'm an Apple fan, right? I am not also a big PC fan, don't get me wrong here, but Apple's got a penchant for going upscale. And when they do, they've got to land, because they've got to make their things desirable, because, well, their design is usually awesome. The functionality usually lags behind its competitors by a year or two in some of their software design. Okay, so they've really got to step up their game and prove that they can land something that could successfully sell that's bigger than a computer. My thoughts.
Yeah, part of me too. And again, I'm not as into the Apple ecosystem as you, but I would wonder if Apple would just want to buy into Lilium and just say what though? What does, to just be a stakeholder? What is Apple? Why would they buy Lilium? I guess is where I'm going with that. Why? What does Lilium bring to Apple's conglomerate? You know, all their things. Like what?
See, the only thing that Apple really brings in is,
I don't know.
Apple's got the biggest thing that Apple's got going from right now is their own silicon. That's it. They're making their own chips. They're producing something that's got really good RISC architecture on it. That's embedded technology. That's doing well. The problem is that, does Lilium need that in order for them to be successful?
They've already got avionics.
Right.
I don't know what they've got, but I know we looked at that already.
Right. And I don't look. No one's challenging Garmin in that space right now, or some of the other people that are in that space for the GA side or the military side. Honeywell's been in that space for a long time.
They've got Honeywell avionics.
They got Honeywell on it. So
yeah,
I mean,
and Honeywell's in the aviation space.
Yeah,
they don't
forever for days.
Yeah.
So do I really see anybody really knocking them off, or that they need an Apple for branding?
I don't know.
I
feel no, but
it's a tough one. That's a really tough question. So I mean, just in speculation, I think Apple needs to be more inclusive and go with a car first. I think that's going to help their market share. And they probably, look, let's face it, Apple took themselves from the basement. PCs were trashing them in the 80s, right? And then Apple came back, and then Apple really went for that iMac trendy thing. Let's face it, iPod saved them as basically a brand. It rebranded them. The iPhone made them into even a bigger and stronger company than they've ever been. And now their MacBook Pros and their computing power is really keeping them where they are. So, look at Lil Jet and
a brand on the Lilium.
You can imagine it. I mean, I imagine lots of things flying in my dreams before I go to bed at night, and it keeps me happy. There's if you ask me which one, I am still the one that I want to turn the keys on and fly. And now even more excited so is Jet Terra's their J series aircraft. I think hands down, there's a lot of solutions out there, but the one that I look at and I go, that's not only clever, but it's unique and very smart in the way that they're going about it. It's Jet Terra. I'm not even gonna hide it. So there you go.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. David, thank you so much. And other David, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks. You. The Davids.
Yeah. Thank you for the Davids. We appreciate you. Must be something in the tech world about you guys being cool and coming up with great questions or comments. So thank you for that. All right, guys, we got to go. We got to start planning out what we're going to do for Wednesday. I think we're already trying for Wednesday night or I know definitely Thursday night.
Wednesday. Yeah.
Wednesday at some point. We'll get something out to you. All right. Hey, thanks, Brad. We appreciate it. So,
oh, yes. Thank you.
With that said, let's get out of here while the going's good, guys. We appreciate it. Have a great night. Take care.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy. Thank you.
Peace.
See you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Oh, yes.
All right, yeah. So this is the point. So the new song that I'm looking at, everybody, so you can actually go take a look at it for yourselves.
Check it out.
It's called Ready, Set, Chill by Harris Heller. It's actually on iTunes, and we can get it, no problem. But I think that might be the new song. Might fix some of our issues.
It might.
It might. got a little bit. It doesn't have that long sweeping delay there.
Yeah, not quite so much build.
Nope.
It's kind of like bam in the face.
A little bit more. It's, as my son would say, spicy.
Spicy. Wow.
Spicy.
Yeah. Accurate.
There you go. All right, we're done. Peace out, everybody. Have a great day.
Take it easy. Happy Monday, everybody.
Happy